Imagine a ritual performed by over 1 billion people every year. But what if I told you that its deeper meaning is far more powerful than just sacrifice? What if I told you that science today is only beginning to uncover the wisdom the Quran revealed over 1400 years ago? From the precise way an animal is slaughtered to the spiritual energy behind the act. This is not just a tradition, it's a divine system of ethics, health, and submission. And the real question is, are we truly understanding what reaches Allah and what doesn't? In this video, we'll journey through faith, science, and revelation to uncover the mind-blowing connection between modern discoveries and ancient scripture. Stay with me till the end, because what you're about to hear just might change the way you see sacrifice forever. The concept of sacrifice in Islam is deeply rooted in spirituality, symbolism, and submission to the will of Allah. While many view sacrifice through a physical or ritualistic lens, focusing on the animal, the slaughter, and the distribution of meat, the Quran redirects the believer's attention to something far more profound: the intention behind the act. In Surah Al-Hajj 22:37, Allah states, "It is neither their meat nor their blood that reaches Allah, but it is your piety, taqwa, that reaches Him." This verse fundamentally redefines the essence of religious rituals and serves as a divine reminder that the external act, while significant, is secondary to the inner sincerity and consciousness of God that fuels it. To understand this more deeply, one must first grasp the concept of taqwa, a term that appears throughout the Quran and is often translated as piety, God consciousness, or fear of Allah. Taqwa is the inner awareness of Allah's presence in every aspect of one's life. It is what compels a believer to act righteously, refrain from wrongdoing, and perform religious duties not out of habit or culture, but out of love, reverence, and fear of displeasing the Creator. Therefore, when the Quran emphasizes that taqwa is what reaches Allah, it is making a clear distinction between empty ritualism and meaningful worship. An animal may be slaughtered flawlessly according to Islamic guidelines, but if the individual's heart lacks sincerity, humility, and consciousness of Allah, the act holds little spiritual value. The historical roots of sacrifice in Islam trace back to the story of Prophet Ibrahim, and his son Ismail. The Quran narrates how Ibrahim saw in a dream that he was to sacrifice his beloved son. This was a test from Allah, not because Allah needed the blood of a child, but because He wanted to test the faith, submission, and sincerity of Ibrahim and Ismail. Both father and son passed the test with flying colors. When Ibrahim moved forward with the command, Allah replaced Ismail with a ram, signifying that the test was complete and the objective, complete submission and trust, was fulfilled. This powerful event became the origin of the Islamic practice of Qurbani, sacrifice during al-Adha. It was not the act of slaughter that Allah honored, but the depth of faith, obedience, and taqwa that both Ibrahim and Ismail demonstrated. When Muslims across the world perform Qurbani each year, they are not simply commemorating a historical event. They are reenacting the spirit of submission and reviving the legacy of faith established by the Prophet Ibrahim. The act becomes a ritual of remembrance, a symbolic gesture that declares, "O Allah, I too submit to your will, and I too am ready to give up what is dearest to me if you command." This is the spiritual essence of sacrifice. The animal is merely a symbol. The actual offering is one's ego, one's pride, one's desires, and one's attachments that come between the servant and their Lord. The Quran also links the concept of sacrifice to the unity of the Ummah, Muslim community, social responsibility, and compassion. The meat from the sacrificed animal is to be divided into 3 parts: one for the family, one for relatives and friends, and one for the poor and needy. This distribution is a practical demonstration of love, solidarity, and concern for others. Core Islamic values. Yet again, this aspect of sacrifice reminds the believer that the physical act is only meaningful when it is accompanied by a spirit of generosity, humility, and social awareness. If a person sacrifices the most expensive animal but hoards the meat, shows off their wealth or neglects the poor, then the taqwa, the spiritual essence, is lost. Islamic teachings consistently warn against empty rituals. The Quran mentions past nations who continued their rituals while their hearts were distant from God, and such acts were not accepted. In the same spirit, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, emphasized in multiple hadiths that actions are judged by intentions. The famous narration from Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim states, "Actions are judged by intentions, and every person will be rewarded according to their intention. Therefore, the intention behind sacrifice, why one is doing it, for whom, and what they hope to gain, determines whether the act is accepted or rejected by Allah." From a psychological and ethical standpoint, this teaching has a profound effect. It shifts the focus of religious practice from mere form to transformative purpose. A believer becomes introspective, constantly questioning their motives and purifying their intentions. They begin to understand that Allah, who is the creator of all, does not need anything material from his creation. He is not fed by the meat, nor is he pleased by the spilling of blood. Rather, he looks at the heart. The act of sacrificing an animal then becomes a training ground for the believer to sacrifice their own spiritual diseases, arrogance, selfishness, greed, heedlessness, and insincerity. In the context of modern times, this Quranic verse 22:37 is even more relevant. Many people today approach religious practices as cultural obligations or social customs. Eid al-Adha for some has become more about celebration, selfies with animals, and feasting than spiritual reflection. The Quran warns against such superficiality. It calls on the believer to go beyond the apparent and look inward. The animal may be flawless in form, but is the heart of the one sacrificing it equally refined? The blade may be sharp, but is the soul equally sharpened with taqwa? Furthermore, the verse implies a profound theological truth. Allah is beyond physicality. In many ancient religions, sacrifices were made with the belief that the deity required blood, food, or drink. Islam rejects such anthropomorphic concepts of God. Allah is free of all needs. The Quran says in Surah Al-Ikhlas, "He begets not, nor is he begotten, and there is none like unto him." To believe that Allah benefits from the meat or blood is to misunderstand his majesty and perfection. Therefore, the act of Qurbani is not about giving something to God, but rather about giving something for God from within ourselves. The verse also educates Muslims on humility. Sometimes religious people become arrogant in their acts of worship, believing that their rituals make them superior to others. But this verse breaks that illusion. It reminds them that without taqwa, their actions are hollow. It teaches that what truly matters is not how many animals one sacrifices, but how much ego, pride, and materialism one is willing to sacrifice from within. It is a call to inward purification, to spiritual development, and to a sincere connection with the divine. This concept also aligns closely with the broader Islamic worldview that values intention, niyyah, in all actions. Whether it is prayer, fasting, charity, or sacrifice, every act must be rooted in sincerity. The Quran declares that the best among people are not those who merely perform rituals, but those who are righteous, truthful, patient, humble, and just. Sacrifice, then, is a means to cultivate these qualities. It is a reminder that Islam is not a religion of form alone, but of substance. Even in the language of the Quran, there is a deep beauty and subtlety in this verse. The Arabic word used for reach is yenal, which implies acceptance and drawing near. It is a spiritual ascent, not a physical transaction. The meat may reach people, but what reaches Allah is the essence of the believer's intention. This distinction elevates the act of sacrifice from a mere slaughter to a spiritual offering, a means of drawing closer to Allah. In conclusion, the Quranic verse from Surah Al-Hajj 22:37 serves as a timeless reminder to every believer that the soul of sacrifice lies not in the flesh but in the faith. It calls upon Muslims to purify their hearts, renew their intentions, and approach every act of worship with sincerity and consciousness of Allah. The animal is only a symbol. The real offering is the human soul, striving to free itself from selfishness and submitting fully to the Creator. The Islamic method of animal slaughter, commonly referred to as zabiha, has been a subject of both religious reverence and scientific interest. At its core, zabiha is not merely a ritualistic act, but a practice embedded with hygiene, ethics, and health consciousness. It begins with invoking the name of Allah, followed by a swift, precise incision to the throat, severing the windpipe, esophagus, and the major blood vessels while avoiding the spinal cord. This method, although ancient in practice, has recently garnered attention from scientists and food experts due to its alignment with modern principles of hygiene and public health, particularly its effect on the removal of blood and toxins from the meat. One of the most crucial aspects of zabiyah is the emphasis on complete drainage of blood from the animal's body. In the Quran, Allah instructs believers to avoid consuming blood as it is considered impure and harmful. This directive is not arbitrary. Blood, being a medium for bacteria, viruses, and other pathogens, can serve as a source of contamination if not properly drained from the meat. Blood also contains waste products, including urea and uric acid, which are filtered by the animal's kidneys. If these remain in the tissue after slaughter, they can contribute to the rapid spoilage of meat and pose health risks upon consumption. Scientific studies have shown that the method of slaughter has a direct impact on the amount of residual blood in the meat. Zabiyah, by severing the key arteries while leaving the spinal cord intact, allows the heart to continue beating for a few seconds, thereby facilitating a more effective blood flow out of the body. The result is cleaner meat with less blood retention, which in turn reduces bacterial growth. In contrast, in some other methods, such as stunning or blunt trauma, the heart often stops before the blood can be properly drained. This can lead to blood pooling in the tissues, making the meat more susceptible to decay and microbial contamination. Moreover, the cleanliness of the meat is not only limited to physical appearance, but extends to its shelf life and nutritional integrity. Zabiha meat has been observed to have a lower microbial load, leading to longer shelf life and reduced dependence on chemical preservatives. Since bacteria thrive in blood, removing as much of it as possible naturally curbs their growth, especially in environments where refrigeration may be limited or intermittent. This is particularly significant in regions with warm climates or less access to modern storage facilities, where meat preservation is a serious concern. Another important dimension of the Zabiyah method is its alignment with humane treatment of animals. Islamic slaughter prescribes that the animal must be treated with kindness, fed and watered before the slaughter, and should not be frightened or slaughtered in front of other animals. The blade must be sharp to ensure a quick, deep cut that minimizes pain. When the throat is cut swiftly, the animal experiences a rapid drop in cerebral blood pressure, leading to immediate unconsciousness. Studies in neuroscience and veterinary science support the view that if done correctly, the animal becomes insensible to pain within seconds. This method ensures that the death is not only hygienic, but also as painless as possible. Additionally, the Islamic prohibition of consuming dead meat, carrion, and blood is closely connected to the Zabiha method. Dead meat may have died due to disease or suffocation, resulting in retained blood, which can be a breeding ground for harmful organisms. Zabiha avoids this by ensuring that the animal is healthy, alive, and conscious at the time of slaughter, which adds a level of quality control that is both spiritual and physiological. The integration of such principles in Islamic slaughter demonstrates how religious practice can converge with scientific understanding. In an era where consumers are increasingly conscious of food safety, ethical sourcing, and sustainable practices, the Zabiha method offers a model that respects the animal, ensures cleanliness, and prioritizes human health. Far from being an outdated tradition, it reflects a profound awareness of biological realities, encoded in divine instruction, long before modern science could explain the wisdom behind it. In light of everything we've explored, from the spiritual essence of sacrifice, as described in the Quran, to the astonishing alignment of Islamic rituals with modern science, it becomes abundantly clear that the practice of Qurbani is not a mere cultural formality, or mechanical tradition. It is a deeply meaningful act of devotion, rooted in consciousness, ethics, and profound wisdom. When the Quran declares that it is neither the meat nor the blood that reaches Allah, but rather the taqwa behind it, it is reminding us that every act of worship must be grounded in sincerity and awareness of the divine. What science has only recently begun to confirm about the health benefits, hygiene, and humane aspects of Islamic slaughter was revealed in the Quran over 1400 years ago. This convergence of revelation and reason should not just amaze us, it should humble us, strengthen our faith, and deepen our submission to the Creator who knows what we do not. May Allah guide us all to act upon the knowledge we gain and purify our intentions in every deed we perform. May your sacrifices, this Eid, and every act of worship be accepted in the court of Allah. Thank you for giving your time, your heart, and your ears to this message. May you walk away not just informed but inspired. May Allah bless you with success in both this world and the hereafter. Jazakum Allahu khairan and Eid Mubarak in advance. Stay sincere, stay steadfast, and stay connected to the Quran.